Hello, my name is Justin Bright, and welcome to Kerbal Space Program, version 1.2.2, in which I am attempting to make Kerbals a multiplanetary species. And here we have liftoff of a couple of do-it-yourself kits. So, these are from the ground construction mod, which is built into, well, not built into, it's bundled with the Rover Dude's Constellation of Colonization mods. He decided that, Rover Dude that is, decided that ground construction by Alista pretty well conforms to what he wants out of a building system, or a construction in situ sort of system. So he is working with Alista, that mod author, to kind of get this rolled in. So we are going to try it out. This is my first time actually building anything with ground construction, and the one big difference between this and, say, extraplanetary launch pads, which I guess is the kind of de facto only alternative, really, is that you can't actually build something from scratch in the field. Like, you actually have to send out these things, which are do-it-yourself kits. So instead of actually building from scratch and like loading something in at your workshop, like from the VAB into the workshop, you actually load it into this little thing here, these little boxes that you then have to send out and construct. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I love that. Like, I do like the constraints of being able to, of needing to, like, ship in additional materials, as far as, like, the really complicated tools and things that are needed to begin construction. Like, I guess the lore explanation is that it's, like, blueprints and specialized tools and things like that, but I also like the idea of being able to be completely self-sufficient, and I try to think about what things are going to be like when I'm out on Duna and can't ship in easily. So yes, I am unsure. I think what it's probably going to end up being is that I'm going to have to do a really pretty significant amount more planning for the Duna mission if I want to create and launch these do-it-yourself kits, so that I can build stuff out on Kerbin. I would have to do a ton of planning on exactly what needs to be built, where it needs to be placed, and all that ahead of time, since I wouldn't be able to like go, oh shoot, I forgot to build this module, let me just throw one together really quick. It's like, well, no, you have to wait for the transfer window and everything else, which is kind of a pain, right? Like, I don't love that. But if I want to be able to build completely self-sufficiently, I would have to install a whole nother set of mods. That would be extraplanetary launchpad and whatever dependencies that has. And I'm not 100% sure if MKS supports that entirely anymore. I know that there are configuration patches and things like that. There we go, just chucking that stage off directly at Minmus. Sorry. But yeah, that leaves me with two options, basically. Either I work within the constraints of ground construction, and also it's possible that Rover Dude actually plans on having a in situ do-it-yourself kit creation something like that. May be a feature that is coming sometime in the future, but I try real hard not to get way too hung up on what might be coming in the future as far as additional features, especially for the MKS mod suite. Rover Dude is a busy guy, and he is working on he's working at Squad directly, like for the vanilla game, in addition to his work on his own mod suite. So you can't really hold your breath hoping for a new feature of some sort to come out. So we have to make this plan based on what we have available to us right now, and that is the choice between dealing with the constraints of sending out do-it-yourself kits to Duna every time that there's something that I forget. And let's be perfectly honest here, there are lots of things that I'm going to forget. Or I deal with installing extraplanetary launch pads and all of the tweaks and configuration files and digging through the forums to find the right stuff that entails. You can there's kind of a halfway cheaty workaround, I suppose, if you are to actually install extraplanetary launch pads and then just build do-it-yourself kits. Like, that seems a little silly, but I mean, why wouldn't you just build the whole rocket at that point? But it allows you to hook into the MKS features that ground construction is getting, like being able to use skilled Kerbals, workshop efficiency ratings, and everything else. It just hooks into that one system. But you still have to rely on extraplanetary launch pads to build the DIY kits in C2. So that's the conundrum that I've been wrestling with. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do. I'd love it if you would leave me some of your feedback down in the comments below as to what you would rather see. I can definitely see arguments for both paths. I'm leaning towards just dealing with do-it-yourself kits just because, and ground construction just because I don't want to mess up my save at this point. Like, we have a lot going on in this install at this point, and I really am not interested in having to tear it down and reinstall the whole thing by if I mess something up. And it's simple, I suppose, to work within the constraints of ground construction. It's not easy, it's simple, because I don't have to learn a whole new set of production chains or go find a way to mod extraplanetary launch pads to work with MKS. So, anyways, now we are landing our DIY kits with all of my whining out of the way. So we have landed here, 2 things that I will go over in just a moment, but this is really all that it takes. They have kind of built-in decouplers, so I don't know why I put the extra decoupler on the bottom of this sky crane, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, they're actually they're fairly durable. I think they can withstand impacts of 10 meters per second, something like that, so they're robust enough to deal with this. By which I mean dropping them directly. Like, I don't have to have a whole landing leg set up and everything else. I can just throw them on the ground. I haven't actually, like I said, this is my first time actually building anything with ground construction. And there were 2 things that I wanted to get built. First of all, I need an ISRU factory, basically. So what I'm dropping here is a couple of different ISRU modules, which we will use to generate fuel. I could have brought my carbonite plant over from Minty Station, but I didn't want to. So there's that. I'm finding that they work a little bit funny with planetary logistics and so forth. Like, they don't seem to work as well as I would hope with pulling and pushing resources. So I figured, you know what, we're just going to make this stuff on site. We have some big tanks over there in the colony box that we can use as storage, temporary storage. So we will just deal with that, and that should be fine. But we do need a new setup. We need new converters. And the other thing is a commodity return vehicle version 3. Very exciting. So that one is going to take 27,000 material kits, it looks like, while the refuelers is going to take a little bit over 11,000. And what is this? Efficiency 100%, workforce 2.0 out of 10.0. Huh. I guess SK is something about skilled Kerbals, maybe? I probably should have read the instructions a little bit more closely. I kind of went over some overviews of how this works, but I didn't go into too much detail. Alright, we've got our engineer in the construction workshop, so let's deploy the refuelers. Alright, and now the thinger starts to expand. Oh, I hope I actually gave that enough room. I think I did. It shouldn't be that huge. Okay, that's a little bit closer than I'd like, but that looks fine. And fixing it in place, very nice. Alright, so that's that. And then add, and now it is in the construction queue. Okay, 11,000 kits, 174 SKH, I guess, skilled Kerbal hours. Looks like 14 days at the current rate of 2.0. Cool. All right, I think that's all there is to it. So I've got one engineer in the mobile workshop, and I'm only getting 100% efficiency. I think there might be better ways to do this, but I'm not 100% sure. Looks like I can get multiple things deployed, so let's deploy the commodity return vehicle as well, and that thing's going to be fairly large, which is why I left that way out there. That is going to be a hefty thing to hurl back all the exotic minerals for delicious cash monies. Yeah, that's pretty hefty. This one even has launch clamps as well, so we're going to see exactly how that works in this type of launch. No ground contact, fixing. Cool, deployed and fixed. Great, now they won't wobble. And we'll add it to the queue. So we'll work on that one after we finish this first one. Looks like I can move it up and down in the queue. Looks like we're making progress. We're at 0.2%. Very exciting. All right, so 14 days-ish. We'll check in after all of that time. All right, so we are back a couple weeks later. And I did have to fiddle around with this a little bit because it wasn't getting material kits fast enough, so it was stopping a bunch. But it looks like we are ready to launch. And go. Launch. Oh. Ooh, whoa, okay. That was weird for a second there. Uh-oh. Oh, crap. Oh, why didn't I put launch clamps on this thing? Oh, and I don't have any control. I don't have a probe body on it or anything. Okay. Use launch clamps even on your base parts. That way you will not suffer this same fate. Maybe we'll get lucky. Whoa. All right. Okay. Okay, I can work with this. I can work with this. This will be fine. Looks like it's going to be on its feet. It's a little bit closer than I'd like it. I'm not 100% sure how I could get that into a better position because it's such a hodgepodge of parts, and I think the root is one of those convertotrons up at the top. Yeah, so I'm not sure what exactly we're going to do about that, but looks like we need to get this connected one way or the other, so let's switch over. And I feel like I might have lost my screwdriver by sending them into this mobile workshop. I feel like I remember that being an issue. So let's go ahead and crank out a new one with OSE Workshop real quick. There we go. Oh, that comes together fast. Very nice. I guess it's really cheap or something. Pop. There we go. Cool. All right, so let's get you out of the workshop. Transfer Desley to the Ranger airlock. And then EVA. Wait. All right, let's just zip over here, grab this screwdriver, and then we will get to work setting up this the ISRU refueler so that we can generate fuel at this base as well. Because like I said, I've had some trouble getting liquid fuel and oxidizer pumped out to the planetary logistics. I feel like it might be because it's like a stock. Oh, I guess I already had a screwdriver. Oh well. I guess maybe it's because it's a stock resource or using stock parts to create the resource. Like, I feel like it has a much harder time interacting with the whole system than some of the built-in parts do, which is another reason why I don't like having oh shoot, I don't actually have another connector. I'm gonna need to maybe make one of those as well. Yeah, so as I was saying, that's the reason why I don't want to introduce the complexity of additional mods to my install, especially something as big and as complicated as extraplanetary launch pads. That would be a reason not to do that, because the interactions can be wonky the more things you add together. All right, this is going to be a really funky link. Sure. All right, that's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Let's get these stabilizers extended now that the ground tether is engaged and this thing will not spring a million miles into the air. So at least having those out makes it look like it's down and stable properly and all that. All right, maybe they're holding hands a little bit, okay? It's love in space. It's good. It's a good thing. It's something to encourage. So anyways, what was I even talking about? Yeah, so extraplanetary launch pads could be difficult to bring that in and get that all into alignment, because I'm having issues with just MKS at this point with how complicated that is and all of the different pieces of the constellation, some of which are more newly updated than others. So let's get these drills deployed one way or the other. We will be making fuel locally and circumventing all of those issues. All right, so let's see. All right, got these. Ground tether is on, right? Okay, good. Just have to make sure sometimes. All right, so we have both carbonite converters and the stock ISRU. What do you mean you're missing carbonite? Missing carbonite. Which one has my carbonite? I thought that I organized these so that I would not have... Oh, that's right. I put it over here. Helps if I actually push that into planetary logistics. Boom. Easy as that. All right, so we have planetary logistics for all the different fuel types. Very nice. So that should work. Oxidizer full. Interesting. Does it not have a place to put... Huh. Why doesn't it recognize that as a place to put oxidizer? Is it because it's not part of this vessel? I mean, it is part of the vessel. It's just docked all the way down there. Is there just not fuel flow between here and there? Is that the issue? See, this is what I'm talking about. This is weird and I don't understand what's happening. But that may just be because I'm dumb. I may just not understand, and that may just be all there is to it. This may not be an issue at all with the actual game or the mod, and that it may be entirely on me not understanding. I feel like what's happening here is probably a fuel flow issue. So let's see what we can do about that. Well, but first, before I get all excited and start running off on this particular additional project, let's actually get the convertitrons up, see if those are working fine. Because we are, in fact, pulling up ore. Are we? No, we're not yet. Start surface harvester. Yes, that's the one. In a world where ore is the only resource, it can just say surface harvester as opposed to say drilling of ore or whatever it is. All right, start ISRU. Looks like we have options for LH2. That's pretty cool. But we want liquid fuel and oxidizer. Hey, that seems to be working. Let's start the second one. I don't think we're going to need both, but just in case, let's get that producing. Cool. Yeah, LFO. We are making it locally, on site. Huzzah. And I'm hoping to be able to use that trick of manually filling and unfilling planetary logistics to stash LFO. But that may not be possible, so we may only be able to get what is here and local. Alright, so I'm poking around and I'm checking the different load values on my components here. And one of the things that I noticed as I was looking around is that this that one that I was using has a 100% efficiency value. I'm just making sure that everything else is on here. Nothing to do with this one. Because I want to make sure all the efficiency parts and everything are on and working properly, because I was told that they don't work unless they're plugged directly into each other. Like the efficiency parts are directly attached. So I'm not 100% sure if my system all works. Like, I'm really hoping it does. But one thing I noticed is that says workshop efficiency 300%. So maybe there's a better way to do the ground construction. Yeah, so this one also says 300%, and I have no idea why that is 300%, and then the 2.5 meter module is 100%. I have no idea. Like, please fill me in the comments below if you know what I'm missing here. But there are, like, this is new territory for me once again. Yeah, because this one, like I said, it's 100%, and workforce is 0 out of 10 because I don't have my engineer in it at this very moment. All right, so I've moved enemy Kerman into this, and oh, enemy Kerman does not actually help in any way. Enemy Kerman is a geologist. That would explain it. So you are not helpful to me. So why don't you go over there by the drills? So it looks like the only person that I have that is helpful in any way is Desley Kerman. So I think one of my next things I'm going to be doing does not have personal inventory space. Oh, that's new. Is that new? I think what that is telling me is that it's going to destroy the screwdriver that Desley has equipped in his inventory if I move him into that module because it does not have space. That's really cool. I'm really happy that that has a warning. But I'm a little irritated that, like, so the fact that there's a warning now instead of just fixing that issue is, it's fine. Everything's fine. So we'll move Desley into this module and we will see what we can do. So look at that, 6.0 workforce now with an efficiency of 300%. That's 3 times as much. And if we get that added to the queue, how is that working for me? So we're still chewing up material kits and so forth. But I'm not 100% sure if they were actually getting the material kits from the local logistics during the time that I was not focused. And one thing that I was doing when I was testing is trying to see if I could actually time warp with the shipyard focused and get all that lovely logistics done, and there's not a chance. I drop down to 1 frame every several seconds when I try to time warp this thing with all the different conversions and calculations. So what we're going to do is we are going to pipe directly into the colony box and just add it up to the big vessel, one giant happy base. And I'm sure that all the veteran MKS base builders are just cringing at how bad this thing is and how I'm just kind of pushing everything together to paper over the fact that I don't know what I'm doing. Because if I could actually make like a bunch of different little bases that all interacted nicely together and I didn't have to make one mega base that had everything, my frame rate wouldn't be so low, I'm sure. But we're going to get this done one way or the other. So my solution here is we are just going to pipe the colony box directly into the base and make that kind of a at least semi-permanent fixture. And what that's going to allow us to do is that's going to give us the ability to fill up both liquid fuel and oxygen and also material kits. So we'll have a big stockpile of material kits so we can create them while we're waiting for the next set of DIY kits and also use them in a hurry and not actually have to wait for the production. Because what I found was when I actually did that little cut and time warped through the construction of that first module, I actually had to stop and go back and forth like 3 or 4 times during that 14 days to make sure that everything was working and that this thing had the material kits and to get the catch-up mechanics and so forth all working, because it just did not work straight out because obviously it's not pulling from planetary logistics in the background, right? Or even local logistics. That's something that happens when you focus on the vessel. So the game had no way, or ground construction had no way of knowing that it had access to those material kits, so it just shuts down. So yeah, we will pipe that together, and that should solve, or at least resolve that issue. It'll be a good workaround one way or the other. Alright, so you'll notice that this is only going to take 13 days, which is about 3 times as fast as you know, what it had originally said, which I don't know why that surprised me, but it's very nice. So I think one of the things that I'm going to be doing in the very near future is sending out more engineers, because I have a whole bunch of workspace on here, and I could fill up all of my different workshops, I think, with engineers and get really fast production, and I think that would be just super, super cool. All right, and slowing down. Should be very soon now. Ding! Engineers should have assembled the commodity return vehicle by now. Well, one would hope so. Alright, so here we are with the completed, doesn't look very completed, but the completed commodity return vehicle. Alright, so you can click on the resources button, and that allows you to just fill it up with stuff. And oh, that's right, I'm pulling from planetary logistics. There's no point in pushing exotic minerals quite yet. However, liquid fuel and oxidizer is something that I can fuel it with right now. Shoop, and off that goes. Launching. Please wait. Oh, the little one frame of things exploding in every direction is always incredibly alarming. Oh, and did you see that wiggle? That little bouncy wiggle when that thing spawned in? This is why launch clamps are so important. Like, they're actually on a weird angle right now. I'm not sure what that's about. But we are here. We are working. Everything is working fine. So with all of these planetary warehouse and local warehouse off, I should be able to push from planetary logistics directly using the warehouse on Minty on the shipyards. And there it goes. Boom. With only a 2,300 resource total capacity, I'm able to fill up 64,000 units by pulling directly from the warehouse, the planetary warehouse. That is awesome. I would fill up the rare metals, but this thing would not be able to take off. That is, rare metals are several times more dense than exotic minerals. All right, so all of a sudden we're launching. You guys ready? Save F5 for safety, and here we go. We are up and away, and we are launching off of Minmus, which only takes 100 or so meters per second, maybe 150 if you're being generous, to get into orbit. Ah, this is so awesome. We are building our very first wobbly rocket. Let's get that auto-strutted. Our very first wobbly rocket off of the surface of Minmus, filled with delicious minty resources to be sent back home and sold for giant buckets of cash. Alright, so fast forwarding to the exciting bit, there was a completely uneventful transfer back home. However, I am running very, very low on Delta V. You'll notice that I only have a couple hundred meters per second left, and I only have as much as I do because I actually did a few aerobrake passes with this thing, which, once again, they went fine. It was not as exciting as it sounds. Mostly because I had forgotten that when I was time warping around so that I could launch from Minmus during the daytime, that meant that I would be landing on Kerbin in the dark. So that's not as great. So I do apologize for the dark re-entry that you are about to witness. But we are just about getting into Kerbin's atmosphere, so let's kick off this lower stage. So this commodity return vehicle is based largely on the one that was successful last time, which is instead of using drogues, and I know people were yelling at me to use drogues, and rightfully so, that's probably the better tool for this particular job, but aerobrakes, I'm using those, and that should work just as well, theoretically. In my tests anyways, I launched one of these into low Kerbin orbit full of dirt, and it worked okay. Mostly? Oh, shoot. Trajectories. Why are you so accurate? I had forgotten that trajectories predicted where the original shape of the vessel was going to land, not where this weirdly mushroom-shaped version is going to land. So we're actually going to be pretty far short of the Kerbal Space Center, which is unfortunate and is going to reduce our payout. Uh-oh. I don't like... Whoa! Oh, I don't like that at all. Oh, no, please. Oh, goodness. All right, you intrepid mushroom. Okay. Hold steady. Alright, so long as I don't time warp or anything, it seems that this thing is slightly aerodynamically stable. I think the issue is that the game calculates the center of mass of one of these big containers as the dead center of it. Oh dear. Oh, that's not good. Yeah, so that kind of confirms that theory. The dead center of this module is the part that is the center of mass. So the ends are actually slightly further away, and it wants to be aerodynamically stable by putting the heaviest part forward. And the heaviest part is not the far ends, because that's actually several meters away from the heaviest bit. Alright, so we are actually slowing down. This was terrifying, but for some reason this worked. So I think there's going to be a version 4. I still have not found a great way to deploy these things, but hopefully this at least lands safely. Because like I said, I've tried this with a bucket full of dirt, but I've never actually landed one worth 10 million, so the stakes are a little bit higher. But yeah, we are now approaching 300 meters per second, and we're at 5 kilometers up. There we go. There we go. We got the parachutes deployed. I think we are going to be just fine. All right, 20 meters. Almost there. And sploosh. Looks like we got home safely, and it sinks quite a bit, but let's recover it very, very quickly. All right, let's see how we did. And 8.6 million funds at 83%. All right, very nice. But that's going to do it for me. That's all the time I have. If you liked this episode, please share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode.